My name is Jesse Puata. I am the owner of the new Plymouth MMA Studio. We are a facility that has multiple coaches in different disciplines that provide education around the martial arts space and life skills to the public. I started training martial arts when I was 14 with my father. I had a lot of success competitively there. Got to go overseas and compete, and yeah, martial arts was the medium that helped me find out who I am and what I'm capable of, and it became the anchor that kept me alive, I guess. Then I had a child. I was making no money from martial arts, so I went away and got a career in oil and gas to be able to provide opportunities for my child and my family that I didn't have growing up. And then I found that I was kind of unhappy in that I had plenty of money and means and just wasn't in alignment with who I really was inside and what had made me who I was. So I started transitioning back into the martial arts scene and just became really passionate again about that space and being able to, I wanted to find who was out there that thought like me and was like me and faced different issues, etc., and ended up at a point where I discovered that what I was looking for I couldn't find, so I needed to build something. So yeah, I've spent the last 4.5 years doing research and development and looking for resources in the industry and ways to streamline it, make it more professional and better, and just with the hope that I can create more opportunities for people that were like me as a young person, so they don't have to do what I did and think they have to get rid of that part of their life and go away to survive in this world. Yeah, so back in the industry, building facilities, promoting a message of unity across the board, and teaching people about their own power and their independence and their freedom of choice. So I'm a part of a couple of different groups that help with personal coaching and stuff like that around self-care. I'd never really taken self-care very seriously. I was into the do what you need to do to get the job done. And self-care, I think, for a lot of people is the first thing to fall off the priority list. So I hadn't done a very good job of that. I would not sleep very much, not eat well, not eat consistently, not drink water, not do those things to care for myself, and everything else was more important than caring for myself. But in the last couple of months, I've really kind of come back to making that more of a priority for me and setting up some routines and being a bit more purposeful with the things that I do for myself and around myself, my eating, water intake, sleep, making time for my family. Historically, but even now, as this martial arts has been the only real self-care thing that I've had. It's a good opportunity for me to be present and escape all the things that are pressing in life. And I come in here and I do my work and have this agreement with people that there'll be nothing given, nothing taken, everything earned. So it's an opportunity to be in a place where you're completely present. All you can focus on is what's happening to you, and develop those mental skills to, I guess, be present and objective and focus on what's within our control. Sometimes it doesn't work out favourably, but being able to be objective about that, break that down and analyse that really has been the consistent self-care thing for me. Then other stuff is coming in as a result of that to make that better and more efficient and make sure I'm not just punishing my body in order to free my mind. Even when you're fighting and you're in a compromised position, is the ability to breathe and focus on what's within your control and work towards each progression step as you can, like, well, I need to get my body aligned. Okay, well, I need to create space between us to be able to, you know, change where we're heading with this. It's beautiful. There really is nothing but what's happening, and it's freeing for me. Without this, I wouldn't be alive. So there are a lot of people that come in here that are battling a lot of demons outside of this place, and it is the one opportunity for them, as part of their self-care routine, to be here and be able to fight for themselves. And you can sleep knowing that you've done everything that you can. Yeah, I think COVID has been interesting. I saw the writing on the wall probably 4.5 years ago when I started this journey to building these things and creating these facilities and strategies and partnerships, etc. Just how vulnerable we are as a society, how much we take for granted, and you know how much we believe that things are taken care of for us. So seeing it happen wasn't a surprise for me. It was a little bit exciting to be able to say, okay, well, how are we going to cope as a community? To be able to test those theories that I had. And I see a lot of people were shook up and shocked. The way that COVID has affected our business is, I think, positively. You know, it was the catalyst for me to just kick out the ladder and really go in, and seeing that the timing is now, and just put everything in and leverage hard to build and create this and go on this dream. And in terms of our memberships and stuff, we've seen a lot more people coming in post-COVID. I think that a lot of people are realising how uncertain the future is for any of us, and that I think taking that step and doing more of the things that they've told themselves they would make time for or do one day when they'd paid this bill or had that holiday or paid the mortgage or paid off the car or whatever. We're seeing more people making themselves a priority, and yeah. I feel like there's more awareness around it, and the stigma is changing a little bit, and we're getting, as a society, a bit better understanding of being able to identify what like mental health issues really are. You know, they're a big sliding scale. I think that the stigma we had was like schizophrenic and bipolar and need to be heavily medicated, but I think now we're starting to recognise the signs and symptoms of that escalation of, or that decline of mental health. We're seeing more people starting to have those conversations and finding different ways to articulate that, and kind of being able to shift their script around what they're doing within their passions and their space and their tools around being able to make an impact. And there's not a lot more, I think industries are a lot more receptive to it and recognising the importance of mental health in that well-being space, that kind of holistic health model. So it's nice. It's good. I was a youth ambassador on the Yellow Ribbon Trust, which was the Help Trust Committee when I was at high school. So that was obviously suicide, but was having those conversations there about that stuff, and that ended up shutting down due to lack of funding. But I think again it's awareness. You know, there wasn't enough support there in terms of marketing and enough reach. We've been able to get the message out there, so the funding support wasn't there, so that organisation ended up shutting down. Whereas now I see a lot more of it on social media and stuff like that, just people reaching out and being prepared to talk about it, and groups getting together and having the conversation, so that it's easier for people to find others like them and identify with them, and then be able to acknowledge and accept their mental health struggles and have a conversation with people that they respect, where they don't feel like they can't talk about it. Yeah. I was an angry young man. A lot of issues with the education system, got expelled from kindy and primary and nearly expelled from high school, and it was a problem. I had all this anger and I didn't know how to deal with it, and with self-harm, and just as much as people tried, I'd seen counsellors and stuff, they couldn't help me figure it out. So once I got into martial arts, I started to heal a bit. I found something that I had a little bit of a natural talent at and was comfortable doing, fighting and learning fighting, and then within that process I started learning ways of being more objective and being able to take more ownership of myself and the things that were happening to me and around me. And then that was a catalyst and the people that I met in there that helped me start to access some resources to help me learn to deal with that better. And so internet wasn't really that cranking back then. I got shown the library by an uncle of mine who'd previously been a youth worker, taught me how to use the research centre and understand the Dewey Decimal System and things like that. So he started connecting me to the resources where I could pursue my interests, and so I ended up really looking at things around mindset and headspace and those things that could support me to make me better at martial arts. And then along that journey I started getting tools that overflowed from just being applicable in the martial arts space, and I'd initially thought they would be to bettering my life. So I got a book, The Magic of Thinking Big, by Dr. David J. Schwartz. It's a very old book, and that was kind of the first one for me that helped me shift my mindset in terms of feeling like I was allocated a station in life and that was my destiny, and started believing more, and then applied those things and started having some success. And then I went and studied human sciences at WIT, which is the first year in a social work degree, and we learned a bit about psychology and sociology, communications, all of that, and then just more time finding books around mindset and more study around mindset, talking with people around that philosophy, and more time in the martial arts laboratory. And yeah, through that journey, because I had something that I could anchor information to, it was easier for me to learn and take on new things and apply them to what I loved. And then that stuff just helped me get better at dealing with the stuff that I was battling within myself, and also to recognise it. So I still have down days, I think everybody does, but I recognise them for what they are, and I don't beat myself up too much about them, and I just breathe and acknowledge them for what they are and can recognise them, and then make peace with them, and look to reinforce the positive side of things, and the gratitude to myself for the steps that I've taken and where I've got to, and then just get in the mindset where I accept it and don't try to ignore it and brush it away, and then have a sleep, and then try to address some of the things that might be out of balance that have led to that, whether it's more sleep or spending a bit more time with my family or spending a bit more time in the gym, or whatever it takes. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey. You always have your ups and downs, but I think access to information was what helped me heaps. Talking with people in those spaces, and then really just applying it. Information means nothing if you don't do anything with it. So I think that you can't change people that aren't prepared to change themselves. So I don't invest any energy in trying to force change on people if people aren't prepared to accept that information or don't want to have that. I think that's a big part of mental health, is not making other people's beliefs your problem. So if people don't believe in it or don't want to talk about it or want to shrug it off, that's fine. We don't have to have that conversation. We don't have to talk about that stuff or be about that stuff. But I will you know, I would talk about it if I'm talking with somebody, and it's applicable to what we're talking about or discussing. But yeah, I don't allow myself to get caught up in other people's disbelief or their dispositions. It's people are entitled to their opinion, and I'm okay with that. I think that even the way I articulate my views and things won't align with other people that are aware of mental health and believe in mental health conversations, but that's fine. I speak my truth the way that I do with the people that want to hear it. And yeah, they can take from that and learn from that or not. It's up to them. I can't tell anyone how to change their own life. I can only give advice from my own experience, and whether they're receptive to that or not is their prerogative. Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's mental health comes from, there's different levels of the brain where we're impacted that lead to those issues that we face. But I think at the essence of it, it comes down to brainstem level stuff, whether it's the will to survive or not, whether it's in a constant freeze, fight or flight state, or whether we're in a rest and digest state, whether we're calm and content or whether we're stressed out. So for me, and what I see in this kind of environment is it is a place where we can feed that part of our brainstem that accumulates all the stress hormones that compound the issues of the perceived threats that we have on a day-to-day. We're wired that if there's a stressor in nature, whether it's people or whether it's animals or whatever environmental influences there are that are a threat to our survival, then we will kick into our sympathetic nervous system, which gives us that freeze, fight, flight response and the hormones that are associated with that. We either run away or we engage it and we fight it, or we use all those hormones to freeze and survive. But now in the busy world that we're in, is a lot of the stresses that we have, these external stresses, there's no physical act that will allow us to be able to deal with those perceived stresses. So we keep accumulating those hormones and stay in that space. So where this stuff helps, whether it's martial arts or exercise or whatever, but specifically martial arts, is it gives us an opportunity to have a physical outlet for that. We get to simulate violence in a controlled environment where there's safety systems in place to make sure that we don't go too far down that rabbit hole and harm each other and harm ourselves and get into like I'm going to die or survive state, and have a constructive means of getting it out. And then on the other end of that, there's an opportunity to sit with people and share ways of dealing with that experience, of coping with that experience of not being the toughest dude in the room or not having things go your way one night. You get to talk with people about that kind of stuff, and if you're in the journey long enough, you'll have more adversity than you will success. But that's the big part of it, is learning the tools to cope with that and turn it into something constructive for yourself. So yeah, in a place where you can do work with people, where you can get into that brainstem space and find ways to cope with that and not end up in a peak survival mode, and have a constructive outlet. And just be. Mason Jury has Te Whare Tapawha as his model of hauora, which is physical, mental, spiritual and social ties. So this kind of environment, I think, ticks all of that you come into an environment where you feel safe. We've got things in place to make people safe and comfortable, and then you have a physical outlet, with the training. You get mental stimulation, so your mind is growing. You get social interaction because you're connecting with other people from all walks of life that are on a similar wavelength in terms of trying to better themselves. And then as a byproduct of that, you get to feed your soul. You get that spiritual top up, because you're growing as a human. You're ticking those boxes, fulfilling those base needs in us. So I'm a huge advocate for martial arts as a vehicle for holistic wellness and health. just been a catalyst for that. Come down and find out. You know, we have a lot of women come and train with us. You know, and the thing is, no one is obliged to do anything that they don't want to do or that they're not comfortable with. We're massive on communication here. From the outset, when people come through, we've got set rules and conditions so that people read those and understand what is expected of them, so that there's no conflict around the way that they behave or what is expected from other people. We continue to reiterate to people that communication is key, so if they've got injuries or issues or things going on, that they know that their responsibility is on them to communicate that and talk about that kind of stuff. And I would say just come down and have a look. You don't have to train the first time you come down. Come down and sit on the side, have a watch, have a feel, you know. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to fail. And it's okay to ask for help. You know, I think that we have a habit of setting unrealistic expectations of ourselves from what we're led to believe in the world that we are in. So, yeah, reach out, talk about it, ask for help if you need help. Connect with your friends, check up on your friends. If you think about somebody, if somebody pops into your mind, just flick them a message. It's not that hard. Sometimes that can save someone's life or change someone's world, or just hearing someone saying, hey, I thought about you. Have a primo day.